Hello everybody, welcome to my own personal arena guide. Probably one of the most despised features in the game as of this recording. Nevertheless, I do have some tips that could help players improve their own arena game. I'll be walking through my own personal setup as well as analyzing a match, and then I'll be letting another match play as well without any of my own yapping. Um, but for those who don't know who I am, my name is Mabel Butter, and I am a top arena player on the US servers with about over 1,500 wins and hundreds of hours of experience. One important thing I do want to clarify on before we begin here is that I am a PC player. I do use the FCFC community mod, which I believe is now backed by Scopely. It really gives players a tremendous advantage, especially in arenas with the keybinds and the maximum zoom that you can get with the CFC community mod. So I would highly recommend checking that out if you do not have it already. But that being said, so when it comes to setups, I would say it depends on your playstyle and maybe your device. For example, some players are mobile players and they like to have their ships on the right side, just since it's more comfortable with their thumbs. Some players they just like to have maybe like one or two ships, maybe three. You just have like a PvP, maybe like a Modeloot ship. So it kind of really depends what you do. For me, I am a very hardcore arena player. I like to get very invested and be prepared for any situation, make sure I'm equipped. So that being said, what I normally do is I have 3 PvP ships right now, my Vengeance, my Crenshaw, and my Enterprise E. And then as well, I do have 3 Armada loot ships or to hit hostiles, which is my GS, my Velox, and my Revenant. And then finally I have 2 support ships with impulse speed. So first, my Vengeance. So one important thing about my Vengeance is since it's my main PvP ship, I do like to run Dane below decks for the extra impulse speed because the arena impulse speed caps out at 275 and I can get 280 with Dane. Now, if I unslot Dane here, I can get up to 220. But if I have Lorcon, who gives 30 plus 30 impulse when you hit a hostile or an opponent, you get that 30 plus 30, but that won't get you near the cap. And having the maximum impulse speed is very important, very, very important in arenas, in my opinion, especially with your main PvP ship. So second, I have my GS, which is my PvP backup ship for the GS Beam, which is highly valuable, especially in PvP. And then I do E. Riker, Garrett, and Scotty for the do have Scotty for their model loot. I do not run any loot officers below decks. I can hit one hostile and get enough loot to run a Solar Armada, and then from that Solar Armada I can run a Metal Armada. And then I have my Cruncher, which is my second main backup PvP ship, if you will. I primarily tend to not use it because I cannot get at the impulse cap with it, so it's very slow and it puts me at a disadvantage. But I do come out with it if I need to. My fourth ship is my Velox, which is my second Armada loot ship. I do run Bayer by KLR below decks for the Armada loot or hostile loot. If I just run 5 of 11 alone, I will get about 75, I believe, 75 directives from the hostile. And then 5 of 11 will get me the 100 directives I need from the Solar Armada. And then my NE is my third PvP ship. I tend to use this more than my Crenshaw, primarily because I have Quran on, so if I kill a hostile or opponent, I can get to the max impulse. But my NE is more reserved for killing support ships such as Mantis, Cerritos, DS-31s, and etc. And then I do have my final Armada loot ship, the SS Revenant. I do have NE Picard, Troy for Synergy, and Hugh for Impulse to reach that max impulse speed, which is 275. And then additionally, I do have the Doctor below decks for the hostile bonus. Because if I don't have Doctor below decks, I won't get enough loot to start a common Solar Armada from 1 hostile, I would have to hit 2. Um, and then I have my Return, which is my first support ship with impulse speed. I do have Pam with full synergy, and that is enough to get you to the max impulse speed in arenas. And then lastly, I do have my NSCA Protector with Burnham in full synergy, which is enough as well to get max impulse speed. One thing about the NSCA Protector, and I think a lot of players in arenas underutilize the importance of the Omega 13 device buff, which allows your ship to survive a battle and recover a X percentage of hull depending on your research. And this will allow you to rejoin armadas if your ship gets blown up the first time. And I'll showcase that later on, and you'll see why it's highly valuable and important. Now, for fleet commanders, this is also kind of player dependent as well. If you're a heavy spender, you might have that FC slot, maybe 6. But for me, I only have 4 seats at the moment. What I tend to normally do is I usually drop Lorca for Locutus, but primarily because for the this ability, but which doesn't actually do anything, just like no data to back up that actually triggers. But also primarily for these increases critical damage against players by 100%. Now this seems like nothing. Maybe for some players it might be something. For G7 players, it may be considered not as valuable as it would be for a G6 or a G5 player. But for me, I think it has more value than what Lorca would offer. If you're running a Hierarch crew, maybe this ability would be beneficial. Getting crit chance when your opponent has a state applied. So if you can get a Hierarch trigger, you can get an extra 20% crit chance. So essentially, if you're running maybe a Hierarch Ezreal Flux, this might be beneficial. But other than that, this is not much benefit to Lorca that really stands out to me for PvP wise. So I prefer to go Locutus, but sometimes I do keep Lorca on just because I'm lazy, or I prefer to have Lorca on for the situation. I usually keep Khan on, and then I have Kirk for his impulse as well, which is plus 40. And then Sloan as well is very valuable for these this increases base hostile loot and outpost loot for all ships by 50%. This is very valuable in arenas. If you're running the Battle Pass Loot Exo as well, that'll give you some more leverage room to run Impulse crew or PvP crew or some mix of that. So I would definitely check that out. I'm not sure if they're going to be continuing Hostile Loot Exos and Battle Pass moving forward. I know they did it this month, and it's absolutely fantastic. That's pretty much my setup, and it's what I usually run every week. For the most part, it works, but sometimes I do make some tweaks, but not really too heavily. Now, for this first match, we are playing Super Pats Fan, Defects, and Sniper. Huge shout out to all those guys, awesome players. On my team, we do have Trueborn Bone, who is a smaller player compared to all these guys. And then we do have Earl Greyhawk, who is our whale carry. So my first tip here is when you're getting a match, you might be coming up against experienced players, or you might be coming up against randoms. Noting this distinction, who your opponents are, is very important. While Sniper, and Super Pats Fan are maxed rating players, very good arena players. For me, Defects is the biggest threat, biggest liability to my team. Not in terms of power, but in terms of his team winning, or his more likely success to get armadas off and stuff like that. So that's my first tip, noting that distinction where who's the threat, who do you want to prioritize. Then my second tip here, if I find it here. When you go to Galaxy View, noting where your base is, you might be in the system on the Omega system on the right side, or you might be in the Alpha system on the left side. Noting where your base is very important, because it's really valuable to dictate where your entry point will be, which I'll just talk about in a second. I would not, if you're playing a what you might think a challenging match, this will be a very valuable information for you and your team as well. So when it comes to entry points, I don't want to go too far here. Entry point or entry positioning system, ship entry positioning is something that really shocks me in arenas. I see a ton of players, like I would say maybe about 90% of player base that I see in common play in arenas. They tend to send the ships in the middle here. They just come directly in the middle and just like, hey, come find me. I want to fight you, that kind of stuff. However, I think the really key to winning is your ship's entry positioning. It's a very huge key that a lot of players underutilize, maybe even some of the best arena players, honestly, in my opinion. Especially when you're playing challenging matches, which such as this. So one thing that a lot of players, or a small group of players, maybe that extra 10%, they tend to come in from the bottom or the top, right here in the middle, just directly on the top or the bottom. And they'll send their right here, if you'll see right here, and then at the top there's a system up there. There's an entry point up there. And then so I'll send my main PvP ship up there, which is my Vengeance, and then I will send my GS-31 to attack the nearest hostile, which will be this one, or it could be this cruiser right here. So in allowing myself to do that, I can get their model off very quickly and have extra space from the opponent to get them, and allow me have time to get Solar model off and get a mill directive early on within the first minute without being destroyed most of the time. Sometimes I get very unlucky, or sometimes lag kicks in. But as I go for this hostile here, my Vengeance I think lagged out for some reason, so I'm trying to send it back to the top here, because I noticed that defects, they're all prioritized up here instead of very at the bottom. If they were having their GS-31s down here at the bottom, I would send my Vengeance towards the bottom. But as mentioned before, my biggest concern is defects, so I'm mainly focused on him. But first, I want to stop the middle Solar Armada that Super Patsman has going on. Stopping these, in my opinion, stopping Armadas is the most prioritization that you can do. PvP won't win matches, Armadas do. Getting these middle Armadas, then will win matches. PvP won't. If your ship dies, so what? Severe distractions, spare and send it back. If you stop these Armadas, you're giving your team a huge advantage. So I was able to kill Super Patsman to stop that Solar Armada, which prevented him starting a middle Armada. But unfortunately, my GS-31 died to defects. He was like, catch me. And that being said, just going into that, that kind of ties into why I perceive defects as the biggest threat, is because he knows what I'm going to do. We played against each other, and we played with each other so much and so long for so long. We basically know what we're going to do. So right now I'm just kind of grabbing all their support ships because I cannot kill their vengeances. I leave Earlgrave to do that. So I'm going for Sniper's GS right now because he did manage to get Solar Armada off, and now he's starting in the middle. But if I stop one ship from joining, it gives us a bit of a leverage. Right now, Defects knows I'm here and he's trying to run away from me, but he doesn't want me to kill him so he can get a Solar Armada off. So I managed to stop him because I believe he's the one that just started this Armada here. Real quick, I think one important distinction that a lot of players underrealize is that noticing who has the middle Armada running. This is such valuable information. It does not matter who's like the biggest player. I think the whale carrier on your team, the biggest player who might be doing all the PvP, should know this information too. Especially if they're getting boggled down. If you get boggled down, you might be wanting to keep yourself alive to target this player. You want to stop this middle Armada at all costs. You want to stop it if you can. Now you won't be able to stop it all the times, but if you can, you should. You should at least try. And I think a lot of players, they tend to get distracted by other players because they might be getting greedy for power destroyed. but that leads to other players gaining middle armadas off, which gives their team a huge advantage and your team a disadvantage. So it's one very important distinction to notice. Now, my Velox here, my GS31 died, so my Velox was next in line. I sent it to the top. I believe I did kill a hostile, or maybe I had a hostile. I already hit a hostile. Not sure, but I was able to start a Armada on their side. You don't necessarily have to start Armadas on your side. I think maybe this is like a misconception that a lot of players don't realize. Starting their Armadas on their side can give you an advantage in maybe some space, some time. Especially if you can just like sneak it around the back if they're super focused on your front end on the left here. In this case, the left side for me. So I'm just kind of sneaking an Armada while Super Pat's fan focuses on my vengeance. And Sniper sees that I'm starting an Armada here, so unfortunately I do die. That's okay, as I do manage to catch this GS again, which is very valuable because that's one less ship for him. And then that means that Earl Grey only has to kill his vengeance, which he should be able to, because I'm pretty sure he's buffed. I believe yeah. Now, when you're playing the matches, swapping ships is very valuable. I think I have my Cerritos on from a previous match for buff purposes. But you do want to make sure if you need to run a Mantis, you should definitely swap to it, or maybe run a Titan. It's getting laggy right now for him and myself. So right now the situation is that Sniper does have his vengeance in the middle, which is very concerning. And I do not see Earl Grey, which means he is dead currently, I think. His speed defects is very strong player, so he's definitely gonna be able to kill him, especially with buffs, debuffs. So it looks like Sniper might be able to get this Armada off. Now you Trueborn Bone has this our middle currently, this other middle currently. But in my opinion, Trueborn Bone is more likely to get blown up. He's less susceptible to Armada strategies and hitting the hostels and joining in under 10 seconds, which I'll show later on. But Earl Grey is also very active in the Armadas. He does his best to get Armadas and PvP done as well. But Earl Grey, in my opinion, he does prioritize the PvP a bit more. Which is also a bit disadvantaged for us. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense. I just prefer to focus on Armadas more than PvP, though. That's just my own personal stance. So Sniper did get this Armada off, and Defects is currently running a solo Armada, but I am trying to catch him off guard. He is going to get this Armada, but I'm going to kill his GS afterwards, which will be one less ship for him in this circle. So it's up to Earl Grey to kill his vengeance. Sniper's coming to going for my Revenant, and I can see that, so I'm immediately running away. But somehow he does catch me because of the lag. So instead, I do join with my vengeance. So I'm going to go for his cube real quick, because I'm not worried about being late for the Armada, and I think I'll be able to show that right now. So as you can see, we're at 11 seconds, and I'm currently out of the circle. Now, normally, I think most players think that you can't rejoin because under 10 seconds you're late. You can't join back in. But wrong. If your ship has been queued in the Armada at any time, any point before the 10-second mark, you can rejoin at any time, even under 10 seconds. I think it's a highly valuable skill, or yeah, we'll just say a skill for some reason. It's a highly valuable tool for a lot of players to utilize, and a lot of the best arena players do use this tool to win matches. It's highly unrated, so you can see I can just rejoin my Armada if I don't lag. Yeah, you see I'm currently cubing the Armada even though I joined under 10 seconds. But the problem is I won't get enough starts to do a medal unless I actually have some directives on hand already. But my next step after this is going to be targeting Defects' GS31, or I might, yeah. because once again, he is that big threat I'm more worried about. It does not look like Trueborn Bone was able to get that middle armada off either. So Defects kills Earl Grey, which is not good. Because Defects, he knows all these strategies as well. It's very alarming, especially in these situations, because you don't want them getting the middle off. Now I do bring my Mantis in, even though it's susceptible to the GS beam. I can Mantis Defects his Vengeance and give Earl Grey an advantage to kill him, which will prevent a middle armada for us or for them. So that would give us a huge advantage. I actually sting him. I don't think I did. Now once again here, I'm paying attention to these solar armadas because I know Defects and Sniper are just gonna auto repair their GSs and just send them back to the armadas for them, which I think if they got the repair tokens, they should do it. It's just Sniper, they tend to Sniper tends to pay less attention than maybe like Defects. But Sniper is still a very good player, and he's aware of things and knows strategies as well. So it appears Earl Grey was able to kill Defects, and Defects was not able to rejoin his armada, which is good. He tried to rejoin his GS-31, which I did kill early on. So that created time for us and space for us. It looks like Earl Grey was able to join his, which is also very good for us. It looks like Earl Grey's GS-31 dieds are actually not. So seeing that Earl Grey's GS-31 is alive, some players, they tend to, if they know their ship can't be killed, they'll just camp in the middle armada. Earl Grey's performance is very strong, and Defects probably kill it the GS beam, but it's not pure. He might be having stuck cooldown, or might just be on cooldown in general. I don't know, but I can probably tell that Sniper was not able to kill Earl Grey. So I do manage to get this middle armada off, but my Mantis is probably going to die. So I do sting Defects here because Defects is going to come from me. He knows what I'm going to do. He knows all the strategies. He's going to focus me. He knows I have the middle, and my Mantis is at a disadvantage because Super Pat Span or Defects can just automatically sting it. What I try to do is I try to hide in the top corners here. I think Defects might be camping. I'm not sure if he's lagging out or not. I know arenas were really buggy back then. This is like March 20th, so a couple months ago. Arenas are really still buggy today. What is this glitch? Yeah, I'm not sure what this glitch is. Just a visual glitch right there. So Sniper does have a middle here, which is concerning. But Sniper will also camp. He'll tend to camp his GS or second ship in the armada, while he just kind of flies around his menus trying to kill other people. He doesn't tend to send it to like the bottom of the system and just like hide it there, while players, while he goes around and kill other players. So I think it's a very good advantage for us and more of a disadvantage for him. But if he sees the tech notification come in a few seconds, he'll react. But if you catch him off guard because he's so focused on one thing, which is killing McCuncher right now, you can just easily catch him off guard, which is why I perceive Sniper as a lesser threat as compared to Defects. Because Defects will be more attentive. He'll have the whole screen up on him, and he'll be aware of everything happening as compared to Sniper. And as you can see, Sniper killed my Mantis with the GS beam. So now I'm going to be sending my NSCA Protector. It's my second ship. Again, that's system entry positioning, but Defects is ready. He knows I'm coming. So that's why I cancel my NSCA Protector and I reposition. Now what I'm trying to do, my crunch is stuck in battle, unfortunately. So it's all up on my NSCA Protector here. So right now, I buff myself. I try to go for the armada of my NSCA Protector. It looks like I should be able to join, I think. Defect does catch me. But again, I was able to live. Yep, that's a big threat. Oh, Super Pass need to catch me. But The showcase though, I did have the NSCA buff. Originally, I applied that to myself. You can initially apply this to all of your players on your team, or I think the enemy team as well. I think I'm actually not sure, but it's a huge advantage. I was obviously going to die, but my ship is still going to live, so that does give me advantage to join the Armada. But Super Pants Man was able to react quick enough to re-kill my NSCA protector, so I was unable to not join the Armada. And my Crunches is still stuck in battle, unfortunately. Now keep in mind that Sniper does have this middle down here, so Earl Grey, I think he's pushing him. I'm not sure. I don't think Sniper's going to make it though, unless he gets lucky, maybe. Now here I'm restarting because my Crunch is still stuck in battle. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't appear that Sniper got the middle off, I think. Now Super Pats Man does have the middle up here. Now this is a bit more advantage for us because I think I can kill Super Pats Man Vengeance at this time with the GS8. Maybe a Mantis, but I'm actually not sure. But he's also kind of like Sniper. He'll tend to just camp his GS31 in the middle Armada and be focused on killing my ship. As you can see, he's aware that my vengeance is coming from the top, even though I didn't press attack. So he's going after me, so I'm immediately sending my vengeance to a hostile to break off the attack. But now I have Earl Grey going for him because Earl Grey's, or actually maybe not. I think Earl Grey was aware that he has the middle. So I do GSD Super Pats Man, but yeah, and I was able to kill him. Oh, Earl Grey got lucky. The one mistake here, that maybe Defects was trying to attack Earl Grey right here, so that's why he couldn't go for him originally. But I think Earl Grey should have been aware that Super Pats Fan was running in the middle. Maybe he should have adjusted his entry positioning. I'm not sure what the details surrounding his positioning before hitting Defects was like, so I can't speak on that end. But I think my mistake here was pressing getting too greedy for Power Destroy here by hitting Super Pats Fan. If I obviously won this fight, but at the same time, this would have let Super Pats Fan get the middle, which is very dangerous. Because the score is very close right now, 562 to 667, with about 2 minutes remaining. And these last 2 minutes are very critical, and where these like massive last second game clutches coming in. So it appears that Trueborn Bone has the middle Armada right now, but he's not very. He's directly just sending in the middle, which is a very huge mistake. What I tend to normally do if I'm in this situation and say there's like maybe 30-40 seconds on this clock, what I tend to do is send one ship up here, and then I'll send a ship at the bottom. Depending on where, let's say Sniper's up here, not here. Just say his Vengeance was up here. I would, and then if Defects remains over here, I'm not concerned. But what I'll try to do is, I figure that Sniper would be aware that my ship is up here, so I'll try to send it over here. And then I'll try to join with my bottom ship because he doesn't know that it's there, so it gives me an advantage. But my biggest concern is that if Defects is over here, he can catch me, but I can't tell. I actually don't know if his Vengeance is AFK or not, which it's not. Again, this is all hypothetical. I think maybe in the next match it might show that, but we'll see. So it does not appear that Trueborn Bone got this Armada off. Again, Defect with the middle, you have to be aware who's fighting in the middle. It's very important, especially if you're maybe in like a voice chat with your team. It's very valuable information. Now my mistake here was just pressing attack too early on Defects because he knows I'm coming. But since I know he's running in the middle, I'm not worried about anything else. Because of the score right now, there's only 1 minute and 19 seconds left. So that means if they get this, they win the match automatically, pretty much. But at the same time, we pretty much lose unless we can do like for these Armadas here, the uncommon soul Armadas. But either way, my priority right now is going for defects. So I was able to kill Super Patsman just real quick. Not an issue for us because I have time to kill Defex's GS31. And Earl Grey does manage to kill his Vengeance. Now my mistake here, I should have stuck on Defects, but I don't think it really doesn't matter either way because we're going to lose either way. This is not enough time to recover. I'm just dealing with a little lag here. But Defects will get the medal off, unfortunately. But anyway, we were going to lose either way. But nevertheless, it was a very good match, and I think it was worthy of showing. Even though I was very heavy on our team's perspective, you might be able to compare that to their perspective in my analysis of Sniper, Defects, and Super Batsman and how they play. So for this next match here, we are playing Defects again, their team again. So this is basically a rematch for us. I will mute myself and just let it play and see if I can put on some music.